Yo. So I'm alive. My sister's alive. But let me just say that what we just went through in the last 3 days is fucked. Like, mentally, I checked out a long fucking time ago. And I don't even know if it's like good to even be doing this reading. I really don't. Like, I got pissed off just like lightly, briefly. I kind of like aggravated 3 times just like in a matter of like seconds to turn on this reading. And I don't know if that's like something that's trying to, this energy that's like trying to keep me from turning the camera on, or if it's like my soul kind of trying to get me not to turn it on. I don't know. Like, if you watch this channel, you know that sometimes I talk about, or you'll hear them, squirrels in my attic. It's not even an attic. It's like barely a crawl space. It's just the space between the roof and my apartment, basically. You can't really walk around up there. Like, it would probably smell like death. It's just like, I don't know, maybe like a foot, probably. Almost only about maybe this much space up there. Like, I wouldn't imagine they've got too much space up there. Maybe these squirrels have been up there for a while. And my sister and I, we were gone for a few days because we got kind of stranded. And so we were gone for a few days from this house. And when we came back, all of a sudden there was like a presence up there that I didn't recognize. I don't recognize the footsteps. I don't recognize the animal. I don't know what it is. And 4:40 in the morning, not yesterday, maybe it was yesterday, not today. I think it was yesterday. Something came in up there and started killing things. Like, it was killing the squirrels. It was attacking everything. And I was trying to bang on the ceiling because if the squirrels are making too much noise and stuff, right? Like, they're playing with their nuts up there, like literally. If they're wrestling sometimes, right? I'll just like tap on the wall and stuff. Usually it scares them and then they just go and they run and they go back to bed, right? But this thing, I was banging on the roof. Like, I was banging on the ceiling to try to get this thing to shut up. And it was hissing through the floor. And my immediate reaction was, this thing's demonic. Like, and when I thought about it in the morning, I think what got in up there and killed, it must have killed 3 squirrels. My sister listened to one die in between her wall and wherever it was dying. Like, she listened to its last breath, basically. And the squirrels actually have kind of like, just, I see 2. I've seen 2 in the last 2 days and that's it. So I don't know how many it killed up there, but it was hissing at me and I was like, that's demonic. Like I think what it was is a rabies infested raccoon, and it was up there just wreaking havoc on these squirrels trying to sleep at 4 a.m. Like, I couldn't believe it. And then like my sister and I were on the way to work and fucking, we almost died again. We had to turn around, like whatever has been attacking us so much, it's mainly attacking our car. And our car had to be like away from us for a while, and like we couldn't be around it, and it's almost like this thing, whatever's following us around, whatever's trying to hurt us, it's like it knows the sound of the car, it knows the car, it knows the smell of the car, it knows. And we had to like deter this thing away from us and get rid of our car for a couple days, so then it lost interest. And that was what I was hoping this rabies raccoon was, like, that it was only going to come for a couple days and then it was going to move on, it was going to forget, because this is not its home. It just invaded the home. So it's going to find something else that it would rather haunt and destroy. And because my sister and I refused to drive the car, I think got the demon away from us. Like it was like, well, if you're not going to play with me, then I'm not going to play with you. And like went and found somebody else to play with, because like my sister had to go to like numerous garages. Like we've been to like 4 or 5 different garages. She had to go to a dealership. Like so she's just having to bring this car everywhere to try to get fixed, like because everyone was telling us it was safe to drive. But these mechanics weren't looking at they weren't taking the wheels off. They weren't inspecting until one man decided he was going to put all of his time and energy looking at this car because he knew my sister and I were terrified and that nobody was giving us any answers. And, nobody wanted to touch one thing because they were like, well, then there's this problem and there's this problem. And then some garages thought that my sister and I were poor and that we didn't have the money to pay. So then they refused to look and help us, right? We had all these people giving us so many different answers. And for the most part, everyone was telling us it was fine. You're fine to drive around. You're fine to drive around. It's not that bad. You can get home. You can get to work, like as if calling us wimps, saying that we're being overly paranoid until this one man was like, you can't drive this vehicle. Stop. And we were like, why? And then he told us why. But again, then the garage wouldn't fix it. So we had to get a fucking $300 tow home. All these tow companies were telling us that they wouldn't take my sister and I. Okay, they didn't want to take passengers. CAA won't take passengers now. They can't guarantee you that if your car gets towed, they're going to tow you. And then all these private tow companies were telling us $300-$400 to get it home. And then we had to take a cab. This cabbie, we just start talking about, what's going on, why we're stranded and why he had to come pick us up. And he's like, I know a tow truck driver if you guys need a tow. Oh my God, picked me and my sister up and the car up. Fucking, we were going to have to take a cab home with a tow home. Like you have no idea all of a sudden what life was throwing at us, all these numbers and all these figures. And some mechanic was like, it's going to cost you $5,000 to fix this car. And another mechanic was like, this job's going to cost you $1,000. And like, we finally get it back to our guys. And they're like, what the fuck? What were you quoted out there? Like, what the fuck? But then they fucked up because they didn't look at our brake lines properly during a brake inspection that I fucking paid for. So now this garage is doing everything they possibly can to make sure my sister and I are okay because they almost fucking killed us. Like so many, I think a lot of people don't really understand how much your life is in danger, right? You're just going day to day, just trying to get through things, you're not seeing the danger because the danger is everything, like you not getting a job anymore. So you can't pay your bills. You lose your apartment, you lose your kids, you lose your food, you lose your, like when you start to think about how dangerous your life is, that can catapult you into serious paranoia, right? Of what could happen. But it's not paranoia about what could happen. It's literally the world telling you, if this happens, if this goes wrong, all these other things can go wrong. Paranoia is not the worst thing in the world. My sister got so paranoid yesterday driving to work that we had to stop. And we had to turn around, and then she had to take it to another garage today because what was told with what was wrong with our car by the end of all these diagnoses, all these tests, all these things, it was the death wobble because our alignment was off. But it wasn't just the alignment. It was the ball joint. It was a sway bar. The brakes were seized. There was 5 or 6 other problems. It wasn't just one thing. Right. So it's like when your life is dealing with, one thing going wrong, and you realize that it's not just one thing going wrong. It's 5 or 6 other things that are going wrong. And this one thing is just telling you the bigger picture of it all. Right. And that's why I don't know what is going to happen with this channel, with this readings, or with anything. I really don't know. I don't even know if I can pull cards right now. I just feel I don't know. Look what I just pulled out. All I was trying to do was split the deck so then I can shuffle. You know what it is I like that this, okay, is fear still there? Yeah, fear is still there because what I noticed yesterday, with this whole thing is we didn't want to hurt other people. So we stopped driving. We took our car off the road. Thank God we fucking did last week. I stopped driving. I stopped going to work. I said, I don't care. If I lose my job, I know my boss. She wants to fire me. He wants to fire me, and get rid of me when I'm one of the best employees because something so far beyond my control is going on. So be it. I can't control everything. You can't control everything. You can't try to make these steps ahead of schedule to try to prevent something from happening if it can't be prevented, right? I tried. My sister and I have put $2,000 into our vehicle before this shit happened last week. I got a brake inspection. They didn't look at the fluid. Okay. I got a brake service. I had to pay for that shit. They didn't even look at the fluid. Okay. There are things you can plan for as much as you can fucking possibly think, okay, this could go wrong, this could go wrong. And there are things that pop up regardless. And what I said to my sister, when we took the car off the road numerous times over the last 5 or 6 days, we just all of a sudden refuse to drive. We'll get down the road. Something will shake in the car. The steering doesn't feel right. My sister's anxiety goes out of control. We take the car off the road. My life, your life, nobody's life is worth just going to get a paycheck for. It isn't. And I mean, society can tell you it is. Your family can tell you it is. But I'm telling you it's not. When you have to risk your life for something, that's where you have to start seeing the glass half full. Because when we're risking ourselves every day, if you don't start to enjoy that, you will die and you will die miserable, right? So when we kept taking the car off the road, what my main concern was that we were going to, if we stayed on the road, we were going to create accidents around us. Because if my car spun out of control, sure, I hope I just get into the ditch and that's my responsibility for my car and my life. But if I hit somebody else, I'm now liable for them. And I'm not talking about liable insurance-wise. I'm not talking about liable money-wise. I'm talking about I now just put that person's life in danger to benefit myself. And the karma on that, just thinking about possibly knowing that there was something wrong with my car that I know about, and I'm willing to put my life in jeopardy along with everybody else that's on that road with me and my car in jeopardy. For what? To get to work? To try to prove to the universe that I can do it? Right? To try to prove that no one can tell me that my car's undrivable if I don't know? There are a lot of things hidden from us for a reason. We can't know everything. We wouldn't be able to function if we knew everything. Just what I know alone makes it hard for me to function because of what I know about my mother, my father, my stepmother, and my stepfather. Just what I know about them, it makes it hard to get up. So I try not to think about what anybody else wants, because what their wants are totally different than my needs, my wants, my actions, everything. So by going off of even my advice sometimes, if it doesn't match with you, don't listen to it, because I'm on a frequency. And if you're not on that same frequency, then some things I say are going to be wrong. But if we're on the same level, then it's just what you hear. Either you hear from my mouth and you're not ready to hear it, so you reject it, or it's something that's already failed you, so you won't listen to it, right? Because you found another way to do it. And congratulations. When you find a way to do something, that's your own way. Taking somebody's advice to get somewhere because you're following way too many steps is just a way that you can get through doing things that you really don't have to do. So I noticed that I didn't have to put other people's lives in danger. I knew that something was going to happen. It was going to shatter. It was going to break. And whether or not I was about to break a whole bunch of people's faces by smashing into them, or the energy was about to break and thinking that I had to drive to work in an unsafe vehicle because my boss needed me there that much. When, okay, she needs me there. I'm needed where I work. But she's not going to lose her business because I'm not there that day. She's there. So she's going to run the ship until I can get there. Right? you have to make sure at all times that you are thinking about your livelihood. It's, you know what I just got? It's the plane when the gas masks come down. You know what they say. You have to put your mask on first. Because if the person next to you is about to pass out, guess what? So are you. How can you help them if you're passed out? So you have to put your mask on first, so then you can help the ones around you. I have to make sure my life is okay before I go making videos to help other people's life. Right? Kind of makes sense. So what I've noticed and kind of what I've been doing is the last, like, especially my sister, I told her today, I'm like, yo, you need to sit down. Like your PTSD is hit a max and you're burnt out. Like you have to sit down now and just smoke weed, watch funny videos, have a bath, just de-stress. Because you wouldn't imagine how much stress that you actually carry if you don't know that your life is stressful because you've always lived in stress, right? It's probably really hard for you to just do nothing. You probably have to pick something up, do something, read something, you know? Like people have a very hard time doing nothing because their life is so stressful. Whether it's their mind that's full of stress, their body that's full of stress, the situation that's full of stress. Stress is a killer. It's a silent killer, okay? So I feel like, you know, how can I be out here doing something if I can't function properly? And then my mind is going, well, now I just started memberships and these people are paying to have videos done just for them. And now I lose it and I get into that part of my life where I can't even channel. So then I'm thinking, you know, like, okay, I got to shut my channel down because I'm letting all these people down. I can't let these people down. I just have to stop the channel. Well, what is going to be good with that? If I just shut the channel down, if I do no videos for members this month at all, because all I can do is this one video, you don't think I wouldn't just take $25 out of my fucking account and just pay everybody back if they didn't get what they wanted and they were upset about it, right? I am not just going to make a video for them because they've paid that month. That would be awful. I wouldn't even want to do that myself because who fucking knows what's going to come out. And those members I know are so fucking loyal that they'll watch this video and go, yeah, please don't do a video for me if you don't even know how to do a video for yourself, right? Because when you get into that haze and you get into that part, it's like, it's really hard to help people. You just got to be as like, almost like sane as possible. That's all the universe is asking you to do, is just be sane and keep it together, because the world is falling apart, but it's going to continue to fall apart no matter if your life is put together or not. So you might as well take the time to get yourself together, because you know what I have noticed? So many people are not awake, right? And they could have been in the same situation as me with their vehicle and not even known it, right? They could feel like, oh, you know, the roads are shitty. I could get in an accident, and they're driving the whole way fucking shaking like this. And they don't realize that their car is unaligned and that their brakes are about to go. And they're just driving. They're just driving blind. They're driving fucking pitch black because they have no connection to themselves, no connection to their vehicle. And then they smash, they crash, their brakes give out. They end up in the ditch, right? Because most people, like they're not woken up, because we all can't be woken up. We can't. Or none of us would go to work the day it snows. None of us would go to work the day we knew it was going to tsunami, right? Like people, there are sacrifices out there for a reason, because it's their time to go, right? It's their time to pass, right? And we can't fight that. It's not our time to pass. So we get the alarm about it. We get the notification about it weeks, days, hours before everybody else does, because we're not supposed to die that day. We're not supposed to be the idiot that doesn't listen and then just gets into a car accident and causes everybody else's life to shatter along with theirs. Because fear is like, yes, fear is false evidence appearing real. It is. But when fear mixes with anxiety, which then mixes with, well, what if, your body is now telling you, okay, we told you about the original problem. Now it's coming into fact of, you didn't fix the original problem. So now these other problems, right? It's like eating a candy bar and then getting a pimple. Okay. You know, you're not supposed to eat it because it's going to cause you a pimple, but you don't really care, even though you're breaking your skin, right? It could cause an infection, right? It's like pimples can lead to other things, right? They're balls of infection, right? But we deal with them, we pop them, we get rid of them. But if someone tells you, okay, listen, your alignment's off, you keep driving your car like this, eventually it's going to wear down your tires. Your tires are going to become feathered. What happens when your tires become feathered? They become unsafe. You're continuing to drive. Oh, there goes a couple ball joints, right? Now all of a sudden your alignment goes a little bit more off because now your car is starting to break down because those tires are now wearing down in places that they shouldn't because your car is not sitting on the road properly. Those little tiny things that happen lead to bigger problems, which lead to accidents. Right? Okay, so say if somebody's car is so unaligned and they get into a tractor trailer fucking pile up on the highway, there is no way that if anybody looked at that car after would know that it wasn't lined properly because now it's in half. Right? So you can't get the diagnosis, which was whatever's wrong with the car after it's already been destroyed. You have to do that before. So then I watched this Instagram video today of this lady who was like dying. Okay. She kept going to all these hospitals and she thought, because she watched Grey's Anatomy for 20 years, she thought that doctors were going to go above and beyond to save her. And nobody did anything. Are you kidding? Doctors don't have the time. They've got 300 more patients to see after you. They don't have time to put you through countless tests. They're not Izzy. Okay, they're not Izzy Stevens. They're not trying to win a contest and try to get the rarest disease possible. Like, doctors don't care. Like, you know how long it took me to figure out that I had Crohn's disease? I had it my whole life. Okay, my parents just kept blaming it on me and saying that I ate too much and that's why my stomach was always swollen and I was, they blamed, okay, my Crohn's disease and my inflammation of my bowels on me. Okay. I had to wait until I lost so much weight. I went to the doctors and then that's where I was referred to this stomach guy who was like, okay, so you just dropped 50 pounds in like 2 months. I was like, yeah. And a majority of what I noticed was that this weight that I had dropped was like weight that I was carrying from like my teens, my early childhood. My sister and I called it my baby weight, my water weight, because it was just this weight that I had. And like, I didn't overeat. My parents starved me growing up and called me fat. Like my mom never had food. My dad, his wife cooked us the world's worst meals ever. I basically fed the dog. Her cooking was so bad. They starved us and they blamed it. My bowels were so inflamed that poop couldn't pass through my bowels. So for my whole life, I've had these awful, awful stomach pains and just being called fat. So I would just starve myself and really had Crohn's disease. But it took me 27 years to see the right doctor because my parents just stopped. They just stopped caring. They got remarried and they wanted to put all their fucking relationship, all their energy into their relationships. They didn't care about their kids. Once my sister and we were past the ages of like 3 and 4, like I'm lucky we're even alive. Like we stick together the way that we do because we are only alive because we have each other. That's it. Like from early ages, we fed each other, we helped each other, we watched out for each other. We never had parents. Parents weren't there. Okay. And I don't care what anybody's parents say. If they were around or not. If they weren't, guess what? You're going to have memories of that, right? Always being alone. So what that did was opened up psychic energy for all of us because we never had connections with our parents because our parents never wanted to connect with us. So because they lied, okay, and they put us in to energy where we didn't know what was going on because they were lying, we learned to tap into other things and communicate with other things to get the answers because our parents wouldn't give us the answers. So you can imagine fear is a lot of false evidence appearing real. Okay. But when you know the truth, fear is allowing you to wake up to something. Okay. It is a little bit of false evidence, but it's false evidence appearing right in front of you because it's letting you know it's a possibility. So once you add fear into it, then you stop, you hesitate a little bit and you cautionize things, right? So you wouldn't believe how cautioned my sister and I are. Like if we feel the littlest bump in our vehicle, we'll pull over because that bump's not there. It's not supposed to be there. We've actually had mechanics go, please crank your radio because the sound that you think your car is making is fine. And you think you're going to die. right? We've been called over paranoid. We're not over paranoid. That sound was coming from something that eventually caused my vehicle harm. So I heard it, even though it couldn't be diagnosed because every fucking mechanic called me a psycho. I knew it was there because it wasn't there the day before. And it continued to stay there. So it's like people can call you paranoid, or they can say that you're, like you're just full of fear and you won't move. Okay, well, and when someone's full of fear and won't move, then they're analyzing the situation and they're noticing that there are cautions everywhere that nobody else is paying attention to. But you're paying attention to them because you got woken up long time ago. Okay, you might even think you're still sleeping, or that you slept through half your life. You might have feel like that because it feels like you slept for half your life, but it's also because you've been woken up your whole life. So you do have to take long breaks of sleeping because you can't stay awake forever. It's impossible. Okay, so what I've noticed is also some shit happened yesterday, and then my sister and we sat down, and she was like, we don't drink, right? We don't drink. And she was like, I need alcohol. And I just so happen to still have champagne from Christmas. Obviously, I lost all the bubbles, but I'm a bartender. I can make bubbles happen, okay? If you want bubbles in your fucking mimosa, I can do it. And I was like, dude, we still have that champagne. And I just bought orange juice yesterday because for some reason I need vitamin C. And I made her a mimosa, and it calmed her down instantly. And she goes, yeah, I think sometimes I need to drink. And I'm like, dude, honestly, it's one of the most relaxing things. Like if you use alcohol medicinally, and like I'm talking, so we had glasses this big, okay? Almost like the size of my Yeti, actually. Okay, so like fucking that's how big? Like that's my hand. And my Yeti still goes down, okay? I put this much champagne in the bottom. I only had the bottom of the bottle left. I put this much champagne in both of our glasses and filled it up with this much mix. And my sister and I got drunk each. And I remember feeling like my body was suddenly like paralyzed. And I'm like, I need this. Like I need to calm down, because especially when you're getting the runaround from things and no one's telling you the fucking truth, because nobody, for a lot of we were so profiled out there these last fucking few days trying to deal with this car. Honestly, like people were basically turning us away because they were saying I couldn't afford the work. I work my ass off. If you think I can't afford to fix my car, my sister's car, like we share a car, you're fucked. Like I put everything in that car and I still have money left over, and I don't have credit. Like I save money like a motherfucker. I don't spend it. I don't drink. I don't spend my money. I buy tarot cards and fucking clothes for work and new running shoes for work. Like I'm awful. If I don't need it, I don't buy it. I'm thrifty like that. I always have been. And I think that somebody was putting all this bullshit with the car in front of money, thinking that I was just going to choose money and be like, okay, I'm not going to fix the car anymore. I'm going to, we'll find new jobs. We'll do this, because a lot of times I'll just give up, right? I don't give a fuck. If there's a situation that's going to cause me that much grief, then it's not fucking worth it. If I evaluate it and it ain't worth it, I fucking turn around and go home. I'm that kind of person. I'm a risk analysis. I know I'm risking I am analysing risk on a daily basis. Analysing, right? And because I know the threat and danger and things, I'm not dumb. I've been, like I said, alone since I was a child. Since I could walk, I've been alone. Like I knew how to cross the road as a baby. I walked to my grandmother's ice cream store down many, many roads and didn't get hit by anybody. So clearly, and I think I was a year and a half when I did that. I was like, yeah, I was only walking for maybe 4 months, my mom said, and I was leaving all the time. I was leaving the house. And walked down a major highway. I knew how to look both ways. I'm not stupid. Just because babies are babies, that doesn't mean they're not watching you. Doesn't mean they're not fucking picking up every single information that you're doing. Honestly, at the age of, I think 9 or 10, I drove my mom's car because I'd been watching her forever. I got in, I started it, put it into drive, drove around the block, put it into park, went back inside. I couldn't believe it. because I'd been watching her do it. I'm that kind of person. I watch somebody do something long enough, I'll know how to do it. I'm not, it doesn't take rocket science for me. I'm that kind of person. I observe things, and I observe things for a reason, because that's how I learn, right? Because people fuck me over so much that words don't, when people are talking, I'm like, yeah, show me. Right? I'm that kind of person. Like, I don't care. You can say as many words as you want. Words don't grasp in my head. Because I've been so manipulated. Words don't grasp because, a parent tells you one thing and then all of a sudden you're alone with them and they're making you suck their dick. Like, honestly, it's like, okay, so you tell me one thing in front of my mother and then all of a sudden you're doing this other thing to me now when my mother's not around. Like, I don't listen to words. Words they never have. That's why I'm dyslexic. I have to see something. Like, you could tell me, this is how you bake a cake, blah, 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 blah. And I'd be like, yeah, to a point where I'm just not even listening. At that point, I'm like, man, I wonder how my taxes are going to turn out. Like, I just won't listen. Like, I'll just go off. Like, I just can't. I can't. There's only so much attention span that I have in my head to listen to somebody say something until I'm like, is this almost done yet? And I forget that I actually have to listen. But if you do it in front of me, I'm like, okay, so she did this. All right. That's mixed. Okay. I got that. Like, it's people are different, like they learn differently. And let me tell you, the way you learn is because of how you were raised. So if you pick up things really easily, then your parents were just constantly teaching you. Like, good for you. If you're me and people try to teach you something by saying something, you were manipulated. Because you can't listen to words properly, you have to see it, because words aren't registering in your head properly because you were manipulated. And that's where the telepathic, like, you were obviously telepathic as a kid, and I know that I was, because if someone was telling me something, I would stop listening. I'd go into my body, right? And I would just, I could be in Florida right now, fucking surfing, right? Like, I can leave my body so fast and go somewhere else. And that's because of trauma, right? Trauma and what my stepfather did to me and what my stepmother did to me and how they traumatized me in certain ways of my life. I can easily escape. It's like mind escape, and I don't have to be there anymore. And a lot of times I will leave my body and go somewhere when someone's sitting there trying to explain something to me that I don't really care about. It doesn't register to me. It's not going to do anything for me. I don't fucking care. I'll just walk away. Right? Like I don't have too much, like, when all of a sudden the fear goes out the window for me and I just say, fuck it, I don't care. That's kind of when I know life is getting dangerous for me, because I've stopped analyzing risk, because I'm at a point where things are so risky that analyzing it is not doing anything for me anymore. I have to go out there. I have to show that I'm being attacked. I have to show that something's wrong, so then things can be corrected. Right? And I don't really realize what I'm doing, but I'm so psychic, right, that I have kept myself safe. I know I've been stalked by numerous people walking home, especially as a kid, but I was listening to myself. I never walked with headphones on. I watch if there's even a car following me on the highway for too long. If there's a car following me on the road too long, I will watch and I will pull over. And you know what's funny is, this is what's so funny, is if I know my paranoia is being dumb, okay, and it's going to try to like trick me in something, I'll think a car is following me. And then as soon as I notice it, because then I think, okay, yeah, now that I think about it, I think that car's been behind me for like, 5-10 minutes or so. They suddenly turn off on a side road. And I'm like, woo, I'm glad I wasn't thinking about that for the last 20 minutes, because I guess they call that paranoid schizophrenia. Okay, like, you all of a sudden get paranoid about something and you're hearing it and you're seeing it and you're like, okay, something's wrong. But what I've learned to deal with that situation is to just ignore it, right? If I don't get the right alert with something, I don't pay attention to it. And then if all of a sudden I'm alerted later and it seems kind of shady to even alert me at that point in time, I've learned to let that go as well. Right? Because once you start listening to yourself, your alerts. You're like you become a seeing eye dog, like, you are using senses that dogs use, that animals use, because it's that sixth sense. It's that something is wrong and you know it. You can smell it in the air, you can feel it, and then you just stop. It's like that twister about to come. You stop. It's not even, you don't even have to hear the alarm go off. you already know that something is wrong. And that's that's the sixth sense that a lot of people are waking up. Okay. And now is the fire alarm tests. Okay. So now you're going to get some tests that are going to happen. And it's to see if you're awake. It's to see if you're paying attention, to see if you're going to listen to your paranoia once and for all, because paranoia is not stemmed off of nothing. It's stemmed off of something going on. You're picking up on whether you have to tell yourself that it's bullshit or not. Get the facts before you just call yourself off saying you're being paranoid, right? Get the facts, get another opinion, right? And if that opinion doesn't work for you, get a second one. Trust me. Now I'm thinking about, I knew this girl, we worked together when we were 18. She was one of the sweetest hearted people ever. Okay. We worked together at Curves, this like women's like workout thing. And her mom would even come in there with her grandmother. Okay. Her grandmother was like 90 years old doing these machines just to move her muscles. It wasn't, Curves machines goes off of hydraulics, right? So really you're just like, if you don't want to put anything into it, you ain't going to get much out of it. Okay. It's not weights. So it was really easy for old people to work out there. That's the whole reason for it. Injured and old, right? That they could do something, just get their bones moving. So I really got to know this woman's family. And then I worked there for a couple years and then I ended up working with somebody who was best friends with her. So then because we worked together, then she would come into my work and just to see her friend, but then she'd get to see me too. And I'm like, oh my God, you're here. Okay. This is how fucked this story gets. So she noticed something in her daughter, okay? And her daughter wasn't all of a sudden responding properly. And she just was doing things, and Sonia was a great mother. Like this, she'd only had the one at the time, and she knew that that Harper was suddenly acting wrong. And she took her to see countless doctors. And every time they were like, she's a kid, she might be a little autistic. Maybe she's just losing her balance and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, this is not my kid. She's a stay-at-home mom. I swear to God, the way that I saw her as a mother, she never took her eyes off her kid because she wouldn't. She's that kind of girl. She wanted to be a mom. She took the job properly. She did something properly. She didn't stop. And then finally she made it to sick kids. She got a referral, made it to sick kids, and realized her daughter had a brain tumor, which is one of the hardest tumors to diagnose, especially in a child. Right? So she stuck with her gut. People told her that she was being paranoid, that it was all fear talking and not to act, but she acted on it. She acted on it numerous times. She got laughed at. She got made fun of. And I remember her going like, she wasn't somebody who would even take laughter as going home and sulking about it. Like she was raised so well by these women that she was determined, and it paid off. And then her and her family became the spokespeople. Then all of a sudden I saw them at McDonald's on the fucking donate to sick kids, McDonald's, blah, blah, blah. And her family was up there. And what McDonald's house did for her was amazing. And like how they took care of my aunt when my cousin was going through hip cancer, they set these families up so then they can stay right beside the hospital and they don't have to travel. And like she stuck with her guns. And then because of that, she saved her daughter's life. Right. And last week, if my sister had listened to some voice in her head, I would have died. And then just driving to work yesterday, something went off in her again, and we had to turn around and drive. And luckily, it wasn't like it was the first time she was alerted, but it was another alert to say, you need a second opinion on this because something wasn't fixed. Right? Again, postponed. Now we can't get a part, blah, blah, blah. We have been dicked around so much with this car that we're like, okay, now what's the problem? But the fucking technician took it out, drove it around, and we got what we needed to hear, that our vehicle is safe. And I don't care if she gets alerted a million times. If that's what happens for us to pull over and get the car evaluated, that's what has to happen. Because unfortunately, with people, like me that are used to being abused, I was driving in an unsafe vehicle, telling myself that I deserved it, not even thinking that it was going to hurt everybody else around. So then once I started thinking about everybody else and being like, I could hurt a lot of people, then it was like, now you're awake. Okay, now you're listening properly, because now you're not just willing to hurt yourself, right, for the sake of going to work. You're now noticing that this could hurt everybody else, that it's not just about me. I'm not the only one here. If something wants to truly hurt me and get me alone, it's going to hurt everybody else too. I'm not going to allow that. You want to hurt me one-on-one. You want to see if you can hurt a woman. You want to see if you could take somebody down when I can't even see you. That's between you and I. But to involve a bunch of innocent people about it, that's where I drew the line. Right? So it's like, I don't know what is happening. I don't know what's happening with me. I don't know what's happening with this channel. I don't know what the fuck is even happening outside right now. So right now, I am just on a day-to-day basis. On a minute-to-minute basis, basically. I'm not even going to say day-to-day. I'm going minute-to-minute at this point. I wanted to make this video because I didn't want to do any signs. I didn't want to pull in anybody's energy. I just wanted to pull in what the fuck was happening. And this is what's happening. But luckily, we have Blaze One for the nation sitting underneath accidents. So it's like, I think what's happening is a lot of people are being woken up to the fear that there's a bigger problem at large, and that itself is on a spectrum with so many things out there, but it's also about certain things in your life that you've been notified on, but if you don't fix that, it's going to cause a bigger problem. So I feel like I'm feeling like somebody's house is about to fall down, because there's all these cracks in the foundation that eventually, if you don't, like, that's why more cracks are creating, because you didn't fix the one crack that happened. So it's causing a looseness in the house, right? I feel like somebody could lose their house if they don't fix the problem. And yeah, it's going to cost a few grand. Everybody kept telling all these mechanics, it's going to cost $5,000 to fix your vehicle. It's going to cost $5,000, blah, blah, blah. And I just went, what is the alternative? You want me to just get rid of this car and then what? Then I have to go and buy a $10,000 car because I can't go out and buy a $5,000 car. So, because it's probably not going to be the best car. So you want me to go out and spend double the amount of money and just get rid of the other thing instead of fix it? What the fuck? Like, I mean, if your money's not going to your shelter or the thing that gets you to work, you might want to be evaluating your money, because we're getting money. You get paid. So then you can fix your house. So then you can fix your vehicle. So then you can buy your winter jacket that you need with your winter boots. So then you can, if something happens to you, won't die in -20 weather. I think a lot of people, consumerism is kind of taking over of things, people are over needy. They've become overly you need 5 takeout glasses for your own house. No, you don't. You need 1 takeout glass just for yourself, right? It's like you need, and you don't. It's like surrendering and spending the money and spending the time on what could kill you the most, which is basing off somebody's fear. There's a squirrel is home. There's one that sleeps right here, kind of like above my bed. And he came home last night and he was okay. There's only 2, I've only seen 2 squirrels in 24 hours. And usually it would be filled back here. We have a squirrel that has no tail. I haven't seen him. Whatever came into the attic the other day was demonic. It killed things up there. And I was really worried about that, because I didn't want the smell to come into the house if something died up there. And I think some things are dead up there. So great. I can wonder how my apartment's going to smell. I mean, there's so many holes in the roof that obviously there's squirrels getting in. So I just hope this smell just goes right outside. Oh my God. You can imagine how hard it's been to do a reading. I just can't do it. I don't even know all the answers right now. I don't even know when I'm going to know all the answers, but I know I don't know all the answers right now. Wow, look at this. So I just decided to shuffle, as you can see, and look what came down. Fox Mulder with Hot. And you know, if you've watched the X-Files, if you don't watch the X-Files, I'm not going to expect everybody to know Fox Mulder. But Fox Mulder, for the X-Files, he's the one that you know, he goes off of his gut and hoaxes. And what he believes to be cases that are truthful in some way. And then he wants to eliminate the hoaxes, right? Because there are so many people out there that want to make up things, they want to make up stories, and they want to believe that the abominable snowman is after them. And to be honest, like, when I looked at my town recently, there was some type of energy that I could only describe as the abominable snowman from the original Frosty the Snowman from, like, I don't even know, the 70s or 80s? It could have been 60s. I don't know. But remember that cartoon? And that abominable snowman comes in. He kind of looks like a Yeti, right? He looks like a Yeti in this deck anyways, because that's how the Yetis come out. They're like white. But I was like, it looked like that. It wasn't as defined, right? It had, you know, it was very like fuzzy edges and stuff, but it was like kicking snow onto the highway. And it was just like, it would take this wind and it would just blow it down. And at the time we were having like an awful storm, and I was trying to drive to work, and I just got suddenly my third eye opened, and I just saw this thing, and I was like, I think there's something like terrorizing our town, and it's using the energy of snow and wind and power to do things to people on this specific stretch of highway that is so fucking dangerous. And it's like it has a boundary. Like I saw once I went through the boundary, and it had to turn around and walk back, you know, because a lot of these things, they can only have their power in one spot because whatever they've done or whatever is there, I don't know. Like, I don't have all the answers. I just know what my third eye sees sometimes. And what my third eye sees is how I channel. So if I don't believe it, I don't channel. That's the whole reason why I started channeling, was because the very first time I ever channeled, get this. Actually, this is really weird. So the first time I ever channeled, this was like when I first woke up, okay? And I was like basically a medium. I was connecting with a lot of dead people. And this girl came over to this house where I was staying with like, I don't even know. This guy's name was Dwayne. All I remember is I think they were friends. Like, I never did cocaine, but one of my best friends, Laura, always did cocaine. And she brought me, this guy was a fucking millionaire, okay? She brought me to his house, and we were hanging out, and like, they would always just disappear and go do their shit. And for some reason, I would just always end up playing with the dogs. I'd go outside for a smoke and play with dogs, and like, people would just disappear for like 20 minutes at a time. And I'm like, okay, so you guys having a blow party in some room and I'm not invited. So I'm out here playing with the dog. And this girl showed up. And I had heard about this girl from my friend Laura for a long time, okay? Because this girl had a tendency to date guys that killed themselves. I was very intrigued by her, as now, you know, I'm channeling dead people. She shows up. And I'm like, I've heard about this guy, okay, who died from my other friend, okay? I used to have sex with like one of the hottest guys ever, and because we were such good friends, we'd have awesome conversations. And he told me about his friend Telfer, okay, who got into a fight with his girlfriend at a bar, took his Yamaguchi fucking Harley fucking sported up motorcycle, drove into the gates of where they make priests. Okay, so we have this area in town where they have iron doors, thank God. Okay, and it's like this compound where you go and become a priest, right? And it's like all segregated on the outside of town, you know, it's in this like beautiful spot, and every now and then you'll see them walking around, and you know, like the gates are always open and stuff, but at night they close the gates. Thank fucking God they do. But I mean, not thank God for him. He smashed his bike into it and died. Okay, and I've heard about that story, okay, and I've heard about her, and I didn't know this. So she's sitting there, and now everybody's come down, right? Like the blow party's done. So now we're all hanging out again, drinking. And I am like dying to say something because all I see with her is a guy in a fucking helmet. And finally, like, he's got his helmet, like, on his head. Like, you know how some of those guys would walk around with those giant helmets, like, still on their head? And you're like, oh my God, like, I can't even carry that thing, let alone keep it on my head like that. He walked in like that. I don't know that Telfer is her ex-boyfriend. Okay, I have no idea. I've heard both stories, but I don't know that two is one, okay? So I go, oh my God, Jen, I was so uncomfortable. I was like, there is somebody with you that has a motorcycle helmet on. And she's like, she thinks I know because everybody knows, but I don't. And Laura looks at her and she goes, Whitney doesn't know about him. And she would know, like Laura would know that I don't know, right? Because I'm not from this town, right? And I'm like, you did this, you did this, you did this. I'm like, listen, this guy is with you. Like, he is with you all the fucking time. And she's just like in shock. Like, because everybody blamed her for this guy dying, okay, because they're the ones that got into the fight. And I was like, listen, like, this guy loves you so much. So she's like used to people going, fuck you. What the fuck did you say to him? Why did he drive off? And I'm like, he loves you. And then I find out later, okay, from the guy I was banging, dude, that's Telfer, I told you. And I was like, what? And he was like, he's the guy that slammed into the iron gates at the priest church. And I was like, that's who I was channeling? And he's like, you didn't know? And I'm like, no, I didn't fucking know that. Okay, that's how mediumship works, man. Like, you don't, when your gifts open, you don't really know how the universe is, how you're going to drive that ship. Okay, because like, you can hear a lot of things, but what that dead guy told me was exactly what I needed to tell her. Because nobody was getting his message right. He didn't drive off because of her. He didn't go slam his fucking bike up against steel doors. He actually tried to stop. He thought the gates were going to be open because most times they were. Guess he just didn't know they were closed at night because you could see his skid mark. So he tried to stop his bike and he couldn't. He didn't, right? He didn't, where everyone was like, he slammed in those gates because of you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know, if I hadn't woken up and started channeling that way, started channeling ghosts for other people, right? I never would have got that message to her. Like, that message changed her life because it put holes into this other paradigm that she was the reason he did it. Because at that point, you know, who knows if she thought she was the reason. Like, you know, he takes off in a heated moment and nobody knows his side. So I told his side of the story and I didn't even know who I was talking about, but I'd heard about it for a long time. So I don't really know. Oh, yeah. Oh my God. Now we're going back to Fox Mulder. Okay. So what, like, this comes in with this because there are so many conspiracies out there about what could happen, who's the truth, who's not the truth, who's telling the truth. But I connected with a ghost to solve the case for Jen thinking this whole fucking time she was the reason, right? There are, like, we are hot on topic, okay? The thing is that fear is not just an illusion. It's not just false evidence. It's showing you that you need to just stop for a second because there are so many things going on that maybe this doesn't look as good as it should. And then it gets you to I have a really hard time with this word. And then it gives you time to analyze the situation, right? Where you can begin to see both sides and get somebody else's opinion sometimes. You know, if you're paranoid about something, if you're about to, like, okay, say you're about to go on a small plane, you're about to get on a small plane. I just heard Argentina. I don't know why. And you're going to an island. Okay. And you're like, someone's telling you like, maybe we should just pay the extra 200 and get the better plane because this guy looks sketchy as fuck. But then you don't say anything because you're saving, you know, $300, $400, $500 to get onto this island. So you don't say anything. And then you start boarding your family. And then you're like, yeah, okay, I'm going to take them off. And you go to the land and you go, listen, I'm just going to go talk to a local for a second. You go talk to the local and the local tells you, oh, that guy has a tendency to crash his plane fucking once a week. He just fixes it. Oh, probably why he's so cheap. We're going to the expensive guys. Okay. Like, it's not the worst thing. Okay. I did find out one of the garages that my sister and I took our fucking vehicle to last week was run by the mafia. They're the ones that told us to drive home 3 times until somebody looked at them properly and noticed that there was no brake fluid, but didn't look at anything else. But at least said, don't drive it. There's no brake fluid. But everybody else was going, oh, just drive it. It's fine. Get it home. Drive it. It's fine. It's not doing anything. It's got a little bit of a wobble. You know that wobble? A death wobble. Just drive it. It's fine. It's got a death wobble, but you're fine, right? Because people aren't thinking about other people. They're just, well, this person wants to get to work. You know, they don't really want to get their car fixed. So we'll tell them about it, but then just move on. Like, there should be a little fear in some shit. Okay. Get your vehicle serviced, by the way. You know what I didn't realize? Make sure those motherfuckers, make sure you ask about your brake fluid. It's not just brake pads. There's fluid in those lines that pump your ABS. If you don't have ABS, you don't have brakes. You got to go get old Flintstone on that shit and hope you survive. Okay, I didn't know this. Go and get your brakes serviced every 6 months. Get them to check the pads, get them to check the fluids, make sure you're okay to drive. Specifically say, check my fluid. I need to know I have brake fluid because they won't do that. It's hard to check. It's a pain in the ass, which is why most places don't do it. They have some test apparently that they can like spray on your tire to see if there's brake fluid on the tire. But just because there's brake fluid on the tire doesn't necessarily mean that the whole fucking brake thing is filled. It just might mean that you've got fucking fluid in your lines and that's it. So like, honestly, mechanics don't check things. They're fucking assholes. You think you've got a great mechanic and you drive off to your death. Okay, because they don't think that you've got fucking $1,500 to fix it. Like, give me a fucking break. Put money into your car. Your car needs to be the safest thing on the road. Okay, no more. I think the brakes were done. I mean, the pads are fine. It's not making any noise. Just because your vehicle's not making any noise doesn't mean that it's aligned, appropriate for the road, and or not about to kill you. Okay, so not everything makes sounds. Okay, and I think that we do have to start using our Fox Mulder, believing in a little bit of conspiracy to get to the facts. You have to get to the facts of things. You have to blow past the bullshit, stinky smells, lies, you know, the stuff you don't want to deal with, you know, the infection. You have to clear out the infection to get the root of the cause because most things just, you know what I'm going to say. Most medicines just cure the symptoms. And that's all it is. It's not actually doing anything for you. It's not the root cause, right? The root cause of things. And that's where the fear comes in because fear is the root cause. And it is technically giving you those false evidence, bullshit, flashes in your head or thoughts because there's a paranoia there that's leaking in and it's activating your fear because you're not listening to your paranoia. Right? And like I had a guy go, I don't smoke weed, I get too paranoid. And it took me about 10 years to figure out what he was saying. He didn't smoke weed because his life was in jeopardy. And he couldn't stand listening to that paranoia at night that was going to tell him he was about to lose everything. Because guess what? He was about to lose everything. It wasn't paranoia stemmed off nothing. He had it for a reason. He just knew that weed activated it more, but he didn't get rid of the problem. Had he had taken steps to do massive changes, as soon as that paranoia hit, he wouldn't have had any paranoia, but he was doing illegal shit. So he had paranoia, right? Like, because it's telling you, SWAT can knock down your door any day. I'm not going to smoke weed. I don't want to think about SWAT. Oh, so you'd rather like what? Just forget it's there, which people are ignorant and they will forget it's there. So, I don't know. I don't know, folks. And I'm really liking this reading. It's most likely going to be blocked on YouTube because I'm talking about real things. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. We got fighting with hearth and home in reverse because it's like people have to start fighting to put things upright. Right? And that's really hard to do. That's really hard to like your life and then to want to fight for it. Right? Because something is flipped. Something is backwards. It's in disarray. Right? And once you become crazy, you know, like this garage, okay, so when I paid for a brake inspection last week, and my sister even clarified 2 times, because we were getting an oil change at the same time. Oh yeah, get your oil changed every fucking 6 months, by the way. Okay, doesn't matter if you don't really drive it. It's for the vehicle, right? So she asked twice, you did that brake inspection? Because again, we paid like fucking $60 for it or something like that. And they were like, yeah. And she goes, no, I'm serious. Like the brakes were done. And then the lady went into the back to double check that the brake inspection was done. And he goes, yeah, everything's fine. And then he said, you know, you still got that sway bar that's broken. And my sister was like, okay, but the brakes were done. Like they were inspected. She's like, yes. And it was the next week, she came into the car with me because we were supposed to get bad weather. And she just didn't want me to drive by myself, right? And that's when she decided to drive to work, right? Because she was like, well, you've got to go to work, so I'll drive. And she was like, what the fuck is wrong with the car? And I'm like, what do you mean what's wrong with the car? She's like, she was in so much panic. She had to pull over and I had to continue driving to work there because there was a little bit of snow on the ground, right? So it was like throwing it off because the alignment was so off that the littlest bit of snow we had a death wobble. It was throwing us off, right? So littlest bit of wind, the vehicle was, and like you could move the vehicle like this, you know, the steering wheel like this, and it wasn't doing anything to the car, right? So it was so far off. And she was like, what the fuck? You've been driving with it like this? And I'm like, I didn't know there was any other difference. Like, what the fuck, right? So we had to fight because things were upside down, right? Like the vehicle was not supposed to be like that. I was not supposed to be putting my life at risk, but I had to realize what I was supposed to fight for. And that was my life. And yeah, I was going to get mad and crazy and start fucking putting my fists up. Guess what? That's what happens when all of a sudden you realize how in danger you really were or are. And that you need fucking help. And if you're not going to help me, get the fuck out of my way and get the next person on the line. And that's what we were doing. We were calling people stuck in the middle of fucking nowhere going, okay, who's going to help us? Who's going to help us? Okay, they're not answering. I'm going to the next people. All right, they answered. They said this. Okay, I've got this person on the phone. Like we were just like done. We had to get it taken care of because all of a sudden we were like, no one is going to fight for this right now. We've got to do it. Like literally. Oh man, how we were treated was so fucking bad. I was even profiled at the fucking grocery store the other day. Cause I have this jacket, okay? It's fucking awesome. It's like this leopard print and it has, it's like blue leopard print with white and black. And it's like, it's like really like furry and it's kind of big. It's like at least a size too big, right? So when I wear it's like really oversized. I was walking out my sunglasses on my fucking toque. Like we're just trying to go in there and get some groceries because we just got the car back. So we couldn't get groceries for a few days. We just want to get groceries. And I look like shit and I didn't care. Tell me how I know this like old man followed us around the whole time. Like a secret shopper followed us around thinking that I was putting food under my jacket. And then I saw that as kind of a good thing. I was like, you know what? I'd never steal. I would never steal anything. And the fact that he followed us around, at least I know he was watching the whole time. So no one's going to steal anything from me if he's watching. And then that brought me to, we get home and I didn't tell my sister about it, right? Because I didn't want to like paranoia her that somebody was following us around the store, right? wow, you should see these cards. So I tell her like a couple days later, I'm like, yo, we were profiled. And then that's when I realized, okay, this is what the universe has done. We keep getting deemed the liar. Okay. My stepmother's been calling me a liar since I was like about 5 years old. Once I realized that she was the one actually lying behind my back and blaming it on me, I stopped talking to her, caused a huge rift. I haven't seen or spoken to my father in years now, and I don't fucking care. I will not participate with a pathological liar, because at this point she believes that, because it is pathological. She just believes anything her fucking mind basically comes up with. So she's been calling me a liar this whole time. So finally I said, listen, I think I know the reason why we're being watched so much is because she keeps saying that we're stealing, we're liars. Like, I've had multiple employers like literally say I'm stealing, accuse me of stealing. So I know that this has been something following me around forever, because I don't steal. I would never. I'm terrified of the law. I would never steal. Okay. So we get into this and I realize, okay, so she's got cameras watching me, okay, to see what I'm doing, because she calls me the culprit. But now what I realize, these cameras are now watching what I'm going through and how everybody else is stealing from me. That these people won't help me, that I was almost fucking conned, right? I was stalked. I was almost kidnapped. I was stolen. Like, so many things have happened, but now I realize, call me a liar all you want. Put the cameras on me. Now I know that if anything happens to me, it's recorded, because everything happens to me. It always does. You talk about worst case Ontario, always the worst case, the worst thing that could possibly happen is my case. Same with my sister. And then that's why people won't believe us, because they go, oh, yeah, right, like that would ever happen to somebody. I'm that odd, because my mother and my father believe I'm a liar. So they put me at the worst odds possible so that nobody will believe me and I just have to carry on by myself. Right? So look at what fell down. Okay, idiot was the last card. Okay, it was in reverse. We are not idiots. We know what's going on. You know what's going on as soon as that temperature changes. Fucking, that's why we're here. We're not unplugged like everybody else. We're working, okay, with clock and deadline. So I'm telling you, this was a deadline. Like, something had to be over with. It was like, honestly, you know what I get is like overkill. Like, something has been overkilled. You've been pressed and stressed to a point, and there was no need for it. Like, because it's been the same outcome every time. Right? It's never a different outcome. They're never going to be able to pull your mask off and believe that you are, and reveal that you're fucking Jason, right? Or Michael Myers. Like, no, you're not the boogeyman. You never were, right? So now it's kind of been proven. I don't know why you're watching this. Ooh, look what's on the top of the deck, the shark. Something was lingering. You know, something's been lingering for a while, and it's been trying to say that good people are bad and that bad people are good. And so you want to believe that, but then, you know, if you believe that you're a good person, then what is going to come up with, if you're being deemed a bad person, then I think that's what the time is up. There's a deadline, right? To fight for your home, to fight for your heart, to fight for the warmth that is your life, right? And yes, some of the most unexplained things, just because you can't explain it, it doesn't mean it's not the truth. That's almost the best. When you can't explain something, you know that there's so much truth in it. And that's what I've realized, you know, like, I kind of stopped giving excuses. Like, when I was getting like accused of doing things, right, especially at work, right, like, did you do this, did you do that? I always make an excuse, like, no, like, this happened and this happened, and now I just take it. And I was wondering what personality trait I was opening by not saying anything. And that's the thing, is by not saying anything, that's what holds the truth. Because you don't have to explain your truth, because you didn't do anything. So you're like, oh, okay, well, I don't need to make an excuse. I know I didn't do anything. If I've got to take this person, you know, down piece by piece by piece of what I did, I certainly can. But if it's not that type of situation, then why even say anything? Because the truth is best kept if you can't say anything. Because the truth is so fucked that it is so unexplainable. Right? Yeah, see? Okay, so on the shark I wrote, the depths below us can begin to scare us. When does it stop? Because that's the thing, is when you're swimming around in the ocean, okay, and you know, your mind starts to wander, right? And then you're like, what if there's a shark underneath me? But you can't see because it's dark, and you're going, do you know where your mind can go with that? Because there's a huge possibility that you're being followed by a shark. But there's also this like bigger possibility that you're not on anybody's radar. But the way your mind can go, and then all of a sudden it pops out, like you knew it was there, you know, like you have to like almost it's almost like hunting, you know, you have to kind of stay still sometimes. Like if you know you're being fucked with, or you know something's happening, it's like sometimes you just have to stop and wait for it to pop its head out, right? Because then, like, yeah, people want to call you paranoid or whatever. I don't give a fuck. Like, fuck everybody else's opinion. When you're trying to prove something, you're just trying to really prove it to yourself, right? When you're trying to prove something, all of a sudden everybody's voices around just shut up. You know, like, you couldn't say a fucking single word about this now because I've been listening to you and it's wrong. I now got to find the answer myself. So you get your goggles on, you get your flashlight, and you fucking look down there. As terrifying as it is, would you rather not look at what could kill you or look at what could kill you? I think that's how I'm going to name this video. Oh man, look, do you realize my book is like right there? When is my book ever? Right there. I think that's what we're going to name this. Well, I'll steam off that anyways. I like to know the theme. Hey, I wrote Leah's on this page. Did you see I just randomly opened to a page? Hey, oh my gosh. So I opened up to this page where I wrote this note to my old boss. And what it was going to be was a text message. But I didn't really know if I wanted to send the text message. So I wrote it down first. And then I forgot about it. And now I'm seeing it. And you know what the thing was I decided, I wrote this out. And then it was like the next day I decided that I was going to write the company and not directly the owner. Because if the owner has let everything slip as much as he has, then I'm going to write to the company. Because if the company doesn't want to do anything as a unit, then that's on them. But I'm not just going to notify one person that could possibly make this disappear and not do anything about it. Because where this was, what this job that I was most worried about was the actually security guard on the door was selling blow. And my immediate reaction to one of the owners has fucking kids, young kids. Okay. The other owner is so broke that he works at his own fucking restaurant. Okay. And I was like, these guys can't lose their restaurant. Like they're gonna get shut down. I wasn't even thinking about my job because I'm thinking I can get another job at any bar. That's not really the case. I don't really care. But the fact that I saw when I met one of the owners, he had a wedding ring on and I went, oh my God, he's got kids. It was like I just saw his kids standing with him and it all made sense as to why I had to call somebody out on something because he was about to possibly get the company in a lot of trouble. So, I mean, sometimes when you write something down that you want to do right away, right? Write it down. And then, because I think a lot of us too, like we work off compulsion, right? We do a lot of compulsive things, right? That, you know, you look down but really nothing's there. So it's like, I think a lot of us can do these compulsive things because so many things, other things are going on in our heads. So it's like, once you don't work off the compulsion, right? Because you know that like, it's just something that you're fueling off of right now, write it down and then see how you feel about it later. Because if it's something that you really don't want to do, you won't do it, right? But it's good that you get it out because that's another thing. If you don't really have a unit and nobody to talk to, then to write it. Like, I mean, I'm not too comfortable with writing my words down right? Because I feel like something reads them. So I write, I kind of like do this like protective bubble now where I like kind of like, you know, try to just see in my third eye that other things can't see what I'm writing, or I write in like almost pitch black, right? So then nothing can see what I'm writing, and then I burn it. I burn it to the universe, to my universe. I direct my words to my universe, wherever I come from, right? Wherever my ancestors are, wherever I'm connected to spiritually, that's who I write to. I don't know what it is. I just call it my universe. It could be Pluto. I don't know. Because there are life forms on other planets. Whether or not we can see it, that's a hoax right there. Like, we're not even going to get into that. Oh my gosh, you know what else I have written down here? The diamond that chose to stay coal. Truth and logic found. And that's a song by Parkway Gate called Wild Eyes. Man, I write some good shit sometimes in this thing. Oh yeah, I did a whole bunch of sketches. Man, I'm just the world's most talented. Look at it, I did these little flowers the other day. I didn't even really know what I was doing. I was just scribbling. Those are just scribbles. Like, I was just literally just scribbling. And I thought they came out so nicely. I might create art that way now. Kind of scribbled. I don't know. Oh yeah, these were some more herbs that came out. I mean, they're pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. I had a lot of fun doing them. And they're just scribbles. Like, that's all they are. I was just scribbling. You know, if you can't really draw that good, like, I'm not the best artist, okay? I'm never gonna claim to be. But to scribble things was so much fun. Oh man, scribble. It's so much fun. Anyways, we're going to end this. If you made it to the end, awesome. If you didn't, it's okay. I'm not offended. We're going to see what happens, obviously, over the next little while with readings and stuff, and like how, if I bounce back from this or if I don't, like, I really don't know, like, what is going to happen. Like I said, like, I really don't, like, you know, just because I've been massively tested, it doesn't mean that, you know, I don't know. I just don't know all the answers. I can't see everything. Look at, we do have murder on the bottom of the deck. Like, I do think murder was, ooh, the murder of a monster. Whoa. Somebody just started yelling outside too, so maybe some monsters are gonna die. That would be nice. Because they tried to kill us, so then it's only fair that they go out in a hail of bullets, you know? So, yeah, keep your eyes peeled for videos. Definitely nothing today, or probably tomorrow, or maybe even this week, but I just hope that, I just have hope. So, anyways, word to you, mothers.